Picture this. It's January 17th, 1998.
Okay.
A 37-year-old woman wakes up in this, really quiet, peaceful house overlooking a pond.
Sounds pretty idyllic, honestly.
You'd think so, right? But she is violently ill, terrified.
Oh, wow.
But here's the thing. There are no police lights flashing in her driveway.
Right.
There's no weeping families staging an intervention in her living room. She hasn't lost her job. She hasn't been arrested. And there's no, fiery car crash on the evening news.
So none of the usual movie tropes.
Exactly. Yet in this completely silent, totally solitary moment, she is about to make a single decision that will literally redefine the next 30 years of her life.
That is wild.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive.
And to do this, we are drawing directly from the writings of Susan Gast. She's the creator of Live Better Sober. And we're focusing specifically on her really highly personal essay, Why I Stopped Drinking at 37, the wake-up call I needed.
It is such an incredible piece of writing because, we are so culturally conditioned to believe that a destructive habit is only a real problem if it ends in a cinematic catastrophe.
Oh, absolutely. The whole Hollywood mythology of hitting rock bottom.
Yeah. We look at our own lives and think, well, my life doesn't look like a disaster movie, so...
I still have my job. I still have my house, so my habits must be perfectly fine.
Exactly. But Susan's story forces us to look closer at the quiet, internal mechanics of a habit that has just run out of control.
It really dismantles that preconceived notion of what a breaking point actually looks like.
Let's look at what actually happened on that morning in '98 because it completely redefines that concept. She was just 3 days shy of her 38th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And she woke up experiencing physical sickness on a level she had never encountered before. We were talking violent vomiting, diarrhea, stomach cramps that genuinely frightened her.
That's terrifying.
It is. And looking back, she suspects it was either acute alcohol poisoning or just a severe cumulative physical reaction to years of heavy drinking.
Basically, her body's saying, enough.
Right. I like to think of it like the biological dashboard of her body just lit up red. The engine didn't explode in a public spectacle for the whole town to witness.
Right.
It just quietly and terrifyingly seized up in her own private driveway.
That analogy is so perfect. But, the physical reality of that morning is stark. But the physiological response actually isn't the most important part of this equation.
Wait, really? How is the physical sickness not the main thing?
Because people experience terrifying physical symptoms from their choices all the time, and their brains just totally ignore them.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Right. Like someone might end up in the emergency room, get an IV, swear they will never touch a drop of alcohol again, and then
they're back at their favorite bar by the following weekend.
Exactly. The profound realization Susan offers us here is that the event itself, the sickness, the lost job, the embarrassment that does not dictate change.
Okay, then what does?
Change is dictated entirely by the cognitive connection made afterward.
That feels a little counterintuitive. I mean, we usually assume the severity of the event is what forces the change.
You'd think so, but no. It requires a permanent shift in how the brain categorizes the substance.
Right.
Some people endure incredible trauma, and their brain still categorizes the substance as a necessary comfort. But for Susan, the connection she forged that morning by the pond was absolute.
Unbreakable.
Totally unbreakable. The sickness was so severe that she made a conscious, visceral decision that she never, ever wanted to subject her biology to that feeling again.
So her rock bottom wasn't a ruined life.
No. It was simply the exact moment. Her internal tolerance for her own physical suffering finally outweighed the psychological desire to continue the habit. It's entirely subjective. For one person, it's a morning of physical agony. For another, it might just be the sheer exhaustion of hiding their habit.
So if hitting rock bottom is just this quiet internal realization, it really begs the question, how does someone's brain actively ignore that realization for 20 years?
Yeah. That's the real mystery, isn't it?
Right. You don't just endure 2 decades of a heavy drinking habit by accident. It requires maintenance.
A lot of maintenance.
And Susan points out that she's sustained her habit for so long by constantly building new psychological tracks to keep the train moving.
And what were those tracks made of?
They were constructed entirely out of what she calls reasons.
Ah, yes. The architecture of excuses. It's fascinating, really.
It's wild.
Because the human brain is a meaning-making machine. We crave narrative. We need a cohesive story that makes our actions feel logical,
Right. Justified.
Exactly. By constantly attaching a drink to an external event, Susan was engaging in a masterful display of cognitive dissonance.
Which is the mental discomfort of holding two conflicting beliefs.
Yes. The conflict being, I know I shouldn't be drinking this much, but I am going to drink right now.
Right.
The brain hates that discomfort. So to resolve it, the brain creates a fictional story. Susan would look at the calendar. Oh, my birthday is coming up. That's a reason.
Someone else's birthday, a reason.
A holiday, a Friday, a stressful Tuesday at work, or even just a remarkably good day.
Right. The brain says, I'm not drinking because I have a compulsion.
Exactly. It says, I'm drinking because it's a celebration, or I need to cope with this stress. It basically outsources her agency to the calendar to make the behavior feel acceptable.
But wait, if someone is listening to this right now, they might be thinking, well, hey, I have a glass of wine on a Friday night to unwind, or I have champagne at a wedding.
Sure.
That's just standard cultural behavior.
Right.
So at what point does participating in normal social rituals cross the line into this blueprint of reasons you're talking about?
That's a great question.
Because it feels like we might be pathologizing regular life.
No, that is the crucial dividing line. It all comes down to the primary function of the choice.
Okay, unpack that.
When a person without a dependency has a drink at a wedding to toast a couple, the focus of their attention is the couple. The drink is just an incidental prop in the background.
Right, it's about the celebration.
Exactly. What Susan realized was that for her, the drink was the primary objective.
Oh, wow.
The wedding, the holiday, the stressful Tuesday, those were the incidental props she used to justify the drink. Her brain was just scanning her environment, looking for a socially acceptable alibi.
An alibi to execute a habit she was already going to execute anyway?
Yes. And stripping away the illusion of that external trigger is incredibly uncomfortable. Because if you believe your stressful job makes you drink, you don't have to admit you have a drinking problem.
You get to say you have a stress problem.
Bingo.
The danger of leaning on those alibis is that eventually the substance completely overshadows the actual event you're supposedly celebrating.
The alibi becomes totally irrelevant.
Yeah. And Susan shares this hauntingly quiet story about a Christmas that illustrates this perfectly. Picture this scene, all right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Susan is living on 5 acres of land in a tiny home. It's Christmas morning. She is being incredibly productive.
Okay.
She's outside, running around the property, getting exercise, breathing in the crisp morning air. She comes back inside, showers, cleans up.
Sounds like a great start to the day.
Right. And she has a family Christmas luncheon scheduled for noon. But it's 10 a.m., she's feeling accomplished, so she decides to have, quote, 1 glass of sherry to kick off the holiday.
And as she notes in her reflection, the whole concept of 1 glass was already a known fiction to her.
A complete fiction. Because of that single glass at 10 a.m., she ends up passing out on her bed.
Oh, man.
She completely sleeps through noon. She misses the entire Christmas meal.
Wow.
While her whole family is gathered, enjoying the holiday together, exchanging gifts and laughing, she is just unconscious in another room.
That's so sad.
But the detail that makes this story so incredibly bleak is what happens afterward. She says she probably laughed it off later, maybe made up some excuse about being tired from her morning run.
Right.
But her family was completely silent about it.
Silent.
Yeah, they didn't yell, they didn't stage a dramatic intervention, they didn't say a single word because they'd seen it before.
Yeah. Yeah, the psychology of that silence is rooted so deeply in how family systems operate.
Really?
Yeah, a family is like an organic machine. It constantly seeks homeostasis or like balance.
Okay.
When one person introduces chaos into the system, like repeatedly passing out on major holidays, the rest of the system eventually stops fighting the chaos. It just absorbs it.
They adapt?
They adapt. The silence wasn't approval and it wasn't ignorance. It was adaptation.
Right.
They had already grieved the expectation of her presence.
Oh, that gives me chills. That silence is almost worse than an angry, screaming fight.
It really is.
Because a fight means they still expect you to be better. The silence signifies this tragic acceptance. It's the family implicitly saying, well, this is just who she is now.
Exactly.
To me, moments like that quietly reveal exactly how much control the substance has already stolen. It's not just stealing your health. It's stolen your family's basic expectation that you will even be awake for your own life.
And this highlights Susan's overarching theme so well. A dependence isn't defined just by the loud, destructive moments.
Right.
It is defined by a massive accumulation of behavioral deficits. It's the quiet moments of absence.
Yeah.
When drinking causes you to miss a holiday lunch, forget a conversation with a friend, or spend an entire evening physically sitting in a room but mentally checked out.
And over a lifetime, those tiny absences add up to a staggering deficit of lived experience. You aren't just losing time, you are losing the connective tissue of your relationships.
Beautifully said.
What's wild is that even after that devastating Christmas incident, she kept drinking for years.
Yeah, that wasn't the end.
Right. The missed Christmas wasn't her wake-up call. The physical illness by the pond in '98 was. Which brings us to the aftermath of that morning.
Because stopping the physical act of drinking is only the first hurdle.
Exactly. Susan is approaching 30 years alcohol-free.
That's incredible.
But surviving 3 decades requires a lot more than just ceasing a physical action. It requires unpacking the psychological why beneath the habit.
And Susan makes a really brilliant distinction in her writing here. She notes that stopping the behavior took an instant of readiness, that terrifying warning of sickness.
Right.
But understanding why she drank in the first place took years of internal investigation.
Years!
Yeah, because if you just stop a bad habit using sheer willpower, you are merely white-knuckling your way through life.
Oh, I love that phrase, white-knuckling.
Right. You are still relying on the exact same faulty mental models. You are just denying yourself the coping mechanism. True longevity and behavioral change requires becoming a student of your own psychology.
And she did that. She eventually realized that the root cause of her drinking wasn't a love for the taste or, a desire to party. It was shyness. She believed alcohol was a confidence crutch. She thought it helped her fit in, made social situations bearable, and made her a more outgoing person.
This is such an incredibly common narrative. People operate under the assumption that a substance unlocks the quote-unquote real fun version of themselves.
Yeah, like it's a magic potion.
They believe they are naturally deficient,
Yeah.
too boring, too anxious, too shy, and the chemical frees them from those constraints.
I always think of it like taking out a high-interest loan on your personality.
Oh, that's good.
You get this upfront cash of feeling confident and outgoing for a few hours at a party, but the interest compounds the next day.
So true.
You wake up with crippling anxiety, your natural social skills atrophy because you never practice them sober, and eventually you owe a psychological debt you just can't pay.
And looking back, Susan realizes the drunk version wasn't the real her at all.
Not at all.
The alcohol wasn't revealing her true personality. It was actually keeping her trapped and hidden from the world.
Yeah, like wearing a heavy suit of armor because you think it makes you brave, but really it's just weighing you down.
The atrophy of natural skills is the hidden cost of that loan. Over 30 years, if you never navigate a socially awkward situation without a chemical buffer, your brain literally forgets how to do it.
That makes so much sense.
You lose the resilience required to just be uncomfortable for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Susan didn't just have to stop drinking. She had to relearn how to be a human being in a social setting.
Wow.
She had to build new neural pathways to handle discomfort, which ties directly into the concept of neuroplasticity.
And she took all those years of unpacking her shyness, her triggers, and her habits, and she turned them into highly practical tools for other people.
She really did.
She created a course, and she offers a free tool that tackles exactly what you just mentioned about the brain. It's called the Somatic Marker Moments Workbook.
The concept of somatic markers is incredibly powerful in behavioral psychology and neuroscience. The term was coined by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio.
Okay, tell me about that.
Essentially, a somatic marker is a physiological response, a physical sensation in your body that is strongly associated with a specific emotional memory.
So like a gut feeling.
Exactly. The brain uses these physical markers to influence decision-making rapidly, often bypassing logical thought entirely.
How does she use that biological mechanism to stop someone from, pouring a drink?
Well, she teaches people to intentionally use their own powerful negative physical memories of drinking to weaken the daily urge before it can take over.
Interesting.
Let's look at how cravings work. When a 5 p.m. craving hits, it is driven by dopamine. The brain is romanticizing the anticipation of the first sip.
Oh, sure. It's telling you it's going to be great.
Right? It's a very strong emotional pull.
Yeah.
If you try to fight that biological pull with pure logic by telling yourself, I shouldn't do this, it's bad for my health, you often fail because logic is slow and cravings are fast.
You're basically bringing a spreadsheet to a knife fight.
Precisely. That is exactly it. So instead of using logic, the somatic marker technique uses biology to fight biology.
Okay.
You intentionally recall the visceral, physical reality of your worst moments. You don't just think about them. You force your body to remember the sensation.
Oh, wow.
You recall the nausea, the anxiety radiating in your chest, the physical exhaustion. You bring that somatic marker into your present physical awareness to hack the brain's reward system.
So you are intentionally triggering your own internal dashboard alarm.
Yes.
You remind your brain, hey, remember that morning by the pond? Remember the violent stomach cramps and the sheer isolating terror? Let's physically remember how much that hurt.
Right. You override the romanticized lie of the first sip with the harsh biological reality of the aftermath.
It really proves that she didn't just survive her terrible morning in '98. She weaponized the memory of it to protect her future.
It is a profound way of rewiring the habit loop from the inside out. Over time, as you repeatedly pair the urge to drink with the physical memory of the pain it causes, the brain updates its predictive model.
The craving itself begins to diminish.
Exactly, because the brain no longer views the substance as a reward. It views it as a threat.
And what a future she built by doing that. You know, if Susan could sit down with that frightened, sick 37-year-old woman in January 1998, she has a really profoundly beautiful message for her.
She does.
She says she would tell her younger self that the cravings and the fear will eventually pass, that she will learn to trust her own decisions again, that she will stop organizing the daily logistics of her entire life around acquiring and consuming a liquid.
And the most poignant realization she offers her younger self is, the thing you are currently terrified of losing will eventually become something you do not miss at all.
I love that so much because when you are in the grip of a deeply ingrained habit, the idea of losing it feels like amputating a limb.
It feels impossible.
You cannot fathom how you will function at a party or after a hard day at work without it. To be told from a vantage point 30 years in the future, not only will you survive without this crutch, you won't even desire it. I mean, that is the ultimate message of hope.
It speaks to the vast potential of neuroplasticity. We literally change on a cellular and cognitive level. The person who desperately needs the drink to cope with a Tuesday and the person who is 30 years sober are functionally different people.
Yeah.
The desires change because the brain has been fundamentally rewired by decades of new, healthier habits, authentic, unfiltered connections.
So bringing it all together, Susan Gast's story is really a masterclass in radical honesty.
Absolutely.
It teaches us that you do not have to wait for your life to completely disintegrate to validate your desire to change. You don't need the dramatic, fiery car crash to prove your habit is bad enough to a judge, a boss, or your family.
Right. You don't need permission from a disaster.
Exactly. You only have to be honest with yourself. When your own biological dashboard flashes warning signs, or when the quiet absences start piling up and you realize you are missing your own life, you have the right to simply say, enough.
Yeah.
You just have to listen to the alarm going off by the pond.
And this framework applies universally.
Totally.
Even if alcohol is not your particular struggle, every single person has crutches. We all have habits we construct elaborate architectural blueprints of reasons for.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's compulsive scrolling, overworking to avoid our families, or leaning on unhealthy relationships.
Which leaves us with a challenge for you, the listener, to mull over as we wrap up today's deep dive. Think about the habits in your own life right now. The ones you constantly build, those culturally acceptable reasons to maintain. If you stripped away all the external excuses, the stressful days at work, the celebrations, the holidays, the need to unwind, what is the real reason you are holding on to that crutch?
What high-interest loan are you taking out on your own potential?
Exactly. And more importantly, what might happen if you finally let it go?